All right, Nick, let's talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers annual press conference right during the middle of the combine. Omar Khan comes out, says a lot of interesting comments, especially about the quarterback position. And we've got two of those comments in particular we think are very interesting. Let's get into those and we can discuss what they mean on the other side. This, of course, from NBC Sports. He says, I have full faith in Kenny, Khan said via Brooke Pryor of ESPN. He's shown us some good things, and there were some issues with the offense. I'm excited about the impact of new offensive coordinator Arthur Smith is going to have on him. That was the first comment that he made. And second comment, he said Arthur's very optimistic about Kenny, and I know they've communicated, like I said, we'll have strong competition there, and we'll see how it goes. So I think there are two very interesting, sides of the argument here, Nick. I'm curious what your thoughts are on this one, but Steelers fans, in the comments below, we know you probably watched the whole press conference with Omar Khan. What was the most interesting part of that press conference to you? There's a lot of quarterback-based commentary there, but there's some other parts I think that were really interesting as well. Let us know in the comment section below. But Nick, what were your thoughts on these two comments in particular by Omar Khan?
So I know when Khan made these comments, a lot of people in Steelers fandom were like, what the heck is going on? Is this a lot of faith in Kenny Pickett? What does he mean by this? Are we not going after a big veteran quarterback? What's the plan here? What's the deal? Is this a smoke screen? Is this not a smoke screen? This was not a message to the media, okay? This was not a message to Kenny Pickett. This was a message to three guys in particular. This was a message to Russell Wilson. This was a message to Justin Fields. This was a message to Kirk Cousins that the Steelers are a franchise that looks after their quarterbacks. That's the reality of it. Everyone knows the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to bring in a veteran quarterback. I think it's one of those three guys. I don't think it's Justin Fields. It could be. I feel like Russell Wilson and Kirk Cousins make more sense, but we'll have to wait and see how that all shakes out. I think this is a message to those two guys in particular who, especially Russell Wilson and really Justin Fields too, if it doesn't work out with the Falcons, have been in situations where the organization provided them absolutely zero public support. We all know what happened in Denver with Sean Payton, Russell Wilson. We all know what happened in Chicago with Justin Fields. Both those organizations have failed those quarterbacks. To be totally honest, both of those situations have been absolutely terrible. The Steelers and Omar Khan specifically are sending a message to those guys. And to be honest, those guys as agents and saying, listen, here in Pittsburgh, we back our quarterbacks, even guys like Kenny Pickett, who have had a really tough go of it and probably isn't going to be our long-term starter. This is a message to Russell Wilson's agent saying, you want to come to Pittsburgh. This is a message to Justin Fields' agent saying, you'll have a great franchise supporting you in Pittsburgh. This is a message to Kirk Cousins saying, you should sign in Pittsburgh. You'll have more support here from the organization than you have anywhere else in your career. That's what this message is. And that's what Omar Khan is sending here. This isn't a message saying we love Kenny Pickett. This isn't a message trying to pull up a smoke screen to confuse other teams because everyone knows where the Steelers stand at this point. They've been very vocal about it numerous times this offseason. What this was a message to was to those three guys saying, of all the other places you could go, there's a lot of options out there right now this offseason, a lot of teams looking for quarterback. The one organization that's going to be very public in terms of supporting you is going to be Pittsburgh. And from that perspective, I love this announcement from Omar Khan. I think this could go a long way in helping them pull in one of these guys and maybe at a little bit more favorable price than they otherwise would have.
Yeah, Nick, because when you're a player, especially a player, which all three of those options are guys who are kind of going into a rough patch. Kirk Cousins coming off an injury, that's his rough patch. Russell Wilson up and down season so far, but we know the talent has been there in the past. Justin Fields, also a guy going through a little bit of rush pass, but all of them are extremely talented and they feel like they could thrive in an environment like Pittsburgh. I think like what you're talking about is super important that Omar Khan's expressing, hey, we go to bat for our guys. We stand up for our guys. We're going to be very vocal and supportive of our guys, almost to a fault. And especially he brings up Arthur Smith as well. Arthur Smith, a guy who left the Falcons probably because he believed in his guys a little bit too much. Now, I think the Steelers are going to curb that a little bit. I think now he's not the head coach. He's the offensive coordinator. So that is a little bit more acceptable. Arthur Smith stuck with Desmond Ridder. He stuck with Marcus Mariota almost to a fault, thinking that those were the guys going forward. And I think that coming out here and just expressing the vote of confidence, like you said, it's been done. It's already going to happen. There will be another quarterback in Pittsburgh this coming season. But I think these comments, like you said, have that veil of, hey, It doesn't matter who you are. You could be Russell Wilson. We know you're great. You have one rough patch. We're not going to throw you out to the wolves and be like, well, if Russell would have played better, maybe we'd be doing better right now. We're going to support our guys. And like you said, hopefully that goes a little bit away, some good faith here just to get them into Pittsburgh on a little bit more favorable deal, because they do have a little bit of negotiating power when it comes to a couple of these guys as far as setting the contract going forward. Because, like I said, they've all been through a little rough patch as of late in one way or the other. But I think Pittsburgh is the ideal landing spot for any one of these guys. I think they could thrive, and I think Pittsburgh is building that environment that's going to be very supportive of whoever comes in.
Well, because it's important to understand anytime you're going through any massive quarterback change, the way you can totally butcher it, and really the Denver Broncos are the example of this, is if you bring in a guy and then you don't commit to him and support him publicly, right? The Denver Broncos, they gave up a lot to get Russell Wilson. He comes in, they hire Sean Payton. That's going to be a match made in heaven, everyone thinks. And then Sean Payton very quickly just starts throwing Russell Wilson under the bus. And look, Wilson has had his issues in Denver, no doubt, but he's still a quality starter in the National Football League. That's undeniable. And that whole relationship was completely just torn to pieces because of how Sean Payton in the Broncos organization handled that. And there's a lot of circumstances like that in NFL history where an organization acquires a quarterback or has a quarterback fall into their lap and handles it poorly. If you look at the old Washington Redskins with Kirk Cousins, they had Kirk Cousins and they said, you know what, we don't like Kirk. There's a lot of things we don't like about this guy. They let Kirk walk because that relationship got ruined, and the Washington has been terrible ever since, right? That's just how a lot of bad teams handle those things. They don't support their quarterbacks. Pittsburgh and Omar Khan are taking the opposite approach. And again, it's a very clear message. It's a message to Fields, to Cousins, to Russell Wilson. It's frankly a message to any potential veteran quarterback right now in the National Football League that in Pittsburgh, the organization, the front office, the coaching staff, they will have your back clearly and publicly, even when you go through a rough patch, which every quarterback will go through over the course of a season. And I think this message is really important to getting the right guy into Pittsburgh, whoever Omar Khan thinks it is, whether it's Cousins, Wilson's, Fields, or whoever, if it's somebody else. I think moves like these and thoughts like these really put the Steelers in a strong position to get the upgrade they so desperately need at the quarterback position.